Okay, you're all welcome to the class. This is biology class. In this class, we talk about life, we talk about biology, and then we enjoy ourselves. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about biology, meaning of biology, and then we will dive into living things, and we'll talk about living things. Okay, so what is biology? So, so we're going to look at meaning of biology. Biology is very simple to understand. There are two Greek words that make up biology, and these two Greek words are bio and what, and logos. And then bio means life, while logos means study of. So logos means study of. So if we bring them together, biology means what? The study of what? Of life. So biology can be defined as a branch of science that deals with the study of what? Of life. So we don't talk about living things. So biology is the study of what? Life. It's also the study of what? Of living things. And so that takes us to the next question. So what are living things? So living things are things that have life in them. But that definition is not just complete. And so living things can be defined as those things that possesses all the characteristics of what? Of life. So anything that possesses all the characteristics of life is said to be what? A living thing. Why non-living things are those things that do not possess all the characteristics of what? Of life. So my marker pen is not a living thing because it does not possess the characteristics of what? Of life. So the question now is, what are the characteristics of what? Of life. So what are those characters or features that living thing possesses that non-living things do not possess? So we're going to look at them now, and then there is an acronym that we can actually use to remember them, and it's Mr. Uh, so we have Mr. Niger DAC, where M stands for movement, R stands for respiration, N stands for nutrition, I stands for irritability or sensitivity, and then G stands for growth, E stands for excretion, R stands for reproduction, and then D stands for death, A stands for adaptability, and C stands for the cell. So these are the characteristics that make that living things possess. So these characteristics differentiate living things from non-living things. And so any organism or anything that does not possess all these characters is said to be a non-living thing. Even though there is an organism that possesses some of them, but does not possess all. So we don't call that organism a living thing, and that's the virus. So we're going to look at the virus as we move to the next topic. Okay, so we're going to look at these characteristics one after the other. The first one is what? Is movement. The first one is movement. So living things have the ability to move from one place to the other. And my marker pen is a typical example of a non-living thing. So if I keep my marker pen here, it's going to remain here unless acted upon by an external agency like the force. So if nobody pulls it or push it, it's going to remain at its spot because it's a non-living thing. But living things have the ability to move from one place to the other. Even though in plants, plants do not move their whole body from one place to the other. They move parts of their body from one place to the other. While animals move their whole body from one place to the other. So the next one is what? Is nutrition. Yeah, nutrition is the ability of living things to do what? To feed. So living things have the ability to do what? To feed. Every living thing must feed. Now, they feed in order to gain energy to carry out their day-to-day work activities. And so, even though some person may ask, sir, does it mean plants do feed? Yes, they of course they do feed, even though they don't have mouths and other digestive organs. So they absorb some nutrients through their roots and other parts of of the body. And so, but animals cannot manufacture their food, hence they are called heterotrophs. While plants can manufacture their food, hence they are called autotrophs. So autotrophs are those organisms that can manufacture their food. But somebody may ask, well, sir, we cook our food, so does that mean we don't manufacture our food? There's a difference between cooking and manufacturing, and virtually everything that is used in cooking is manufactured or is gotten from plants. I know some persons may ask, say, sir, what about the fish and the meat we eat? Yes, the meat we eat may not be gotten from plant directly, but when these animals were alive, they fed on plants, and so if they didn't feed on plants, they probably would not exist. So plants are the real source of what? Of food energy, that's chemical energy, even though they get it from the sun. The sun is the ultimate source of what? Of energy. But then animals does not have the ability to trap, animals rather do not have the ability to trap energy from the sun. Only plants have the ability to trap energy from the sun because they possess the chloroplast, which contains chlorophyll. Okay, that's why you rarely find a lion going to feed on a cheetah or a tiger. So even if the tiger dies on its own, the lion would rather go and look for a more difficult buffalo to feed on than feeding on a tiger. You know why? Because the buffalo did not feed on what? Sorry, the tiger did not feed on what? On plants. So the lion will go and look for an animal that fed on what? On plants. So the next one is what? Irritability of what? Or sensitivity. Now, irritability can be defined as the ability of living things to respond to what? To external world stimuli. It is the ability of living things to respond to changes in their world, in their environment. So only living things have the ability to respond to changes in their environment, while non-living things do not. Then, of course, we have growth. Yes. I believe you were not like this 5 years ago. You were not like this 5 years ago. 5 years ago, you were smaller. On the SS1 now, you were a little bit bigger. But then this marker pen will remain like this in the next 5 years, or let it deteriorate. That if there is any change in form or what, it's not a biodegradable material, so it will be difficult for it to decompose. So living things grow. Growth is the increase in size, length, weight of an organism due to the addition of what? New cells or protoplasmic what? Materials. So as we grow, our cells multiply, they add up, and then they grow. Okay, then we have excretion. So what is excretion? Excretion can be defined as the removal of metabolic waste product from the body. Yeah, non-living things do not excrete. But there is a huge difference between, okay, there are other waste products from the body that are removed, but the process is not excretion. Oftentimes, some students ask, so why is the, okay, physics is not an excretory word waste product. So excretion is the ability of living things to remove metabolic waste product from their body. Of course, non-living things do not have the ability to remove metabolic waste product from their body. So of course, then the next one is what? Is reproduction. Reproduction is the ability of living things to give rise to new individuals of their kinds or species in order to ensure continuity in what? In life. If I leave this marker pen and travel and come back 20 years time, the marker pen remains like this without reproducing. But living things have the ability to give rise to what? Young individuals of their kinds or species in order to ensure continuity in life. And so if there is no reproduction, probably, let's say if humans do not reproduce, then humans will go into what? Extinction. But there are two types of reproduction. We have sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction, depending on the number of parents involved. So in asexual reproduction, only one parent is involved, while in sexual reproduction, two parents are involved. So non-living things do not reproduce, while living things reproduce. Then death. And so every living thing must die. That's fact. Non-living things are not even living, so of course they can't die. But then every living thing must what? Must die. Then adaptability. Adaptability is the ability of living things to adjust to changes in their environment to ensure survival. Yes, living things get used to their environment. They possess certain features that enable them to adapt to changes in their environment. And so these special features enable living things to survive in the environment are called adaptive features. So every living thing has the ability to adapt to changes in its environment. Then we have cell. I think the cell is what really make up a living thing. And so this marker pen does not possess all these characteristics because the marker pen does not contain a cell. The cell is really what make up a living thing. So what is a cell? The cell can be defined as a structural and functional unit of life. The cell is the simplest form in which life exists. Okay, so it's the smallest form in which life exists. But then there are some organisms that are composed of only one cell, and these organisms are called unicellular organisms. And we examples of unicellular organisms, we have bacteria, we have protozoa like Plasmodium, we have Paramecium, Euglena, and Trypanosoma. So these organisms are examples of what of unicellular organisms. Then we have multicellular organisms. Multicellular organisms are organisms with more than one cell. For example, humans, most mammals, most animals. I think all animals are multicellular organisms. We have higher plants and then hydra, jellyfish, and all of that. Okay, so these are the characteristics that make up what living things. So any organism that does not possess all, not some, all of these characteristics is said to be a non-living thing. Now the virus is a very unique creature because the virus possesses some of these characteristics, but not all. And so that's why the virus cannot be categorized as a living thing. But then it's on the borderline between the living thing and the non-living thing because it can reproduce and it also has the ability to transfer gene from one generation to the other because it has cell that is made up of what? That is made up of RNA and DNA. So these are the characteristics that differentiate living things from non-living things. So any organism that is said to be a living thing must possess all these characters, not some. And so any organism that does not possess all these characters is said to be a non-living thing. So that is that. And so today we have known the characteristics of living things and non-living things. So the characteristics are just like what differentiate living things from non-living things. So what we are going to look at next is what? It's plants and what? And animals. Previously, scientists believed that living things were just plants and what? And animals. But as time went on, they discovered other living things that are neither plants nor animals. And so we're going to look at that when we get to classification of living things, that's taxonomy. But before then, let us look at differences between plants and what? And animals. Okay, so we are going to be looking at differences between plants and animals. I know even when looking at plants and animals, you can easily spot some differences, but there are some biological differences between plants and animals. So those differences are what we want to look at right now. So, but then, whenever you are asked to differentiate in science, in biology, always make sure you do it in a tabular form. So how do you do it? You draw a table and then you do something like this. Do something like this. So you have plants and then animals. Trying to differentiate between plants and what? And animals. So let's differentiate them in terms of movement. So number one, until plants move, in plants, only parts of their body moves. Only parts of their body move. Only parts of their body move. While animals move their whole body, animals move their whole body from one place to the other. From one place to another, and then you draw a line this way. And number two difference between plants and animals is that plants can manufacture their food. You see, plants can manufacture their food. Hence they are called what? Autotrophs. Hence they are called autotrophs. Why animals cannot manufacture their food. So let's just put it this way. Cannot manufacture their food. So hence they are called what? Heterotrophs. Hence they are called heterotrophs. Then we have looked at two differences. Then let's look at number three differences. And in terms of irritability, that's ability to respond to stimuli. So we say plants respond to stimuli slowly. Plants respond to stimuli slowly. And then here we say animals respond to stimuli quickly. Animals respond to stimuli quickly. And then we underline. Then number four, we say growth is not restricted in plants. Growth is growth is not restricted in plants, but in animals, growth is restricted. So in animals, growth is restricted. So we can go on with other differences between plants and animals. So number five, the plant cell contain chloroplast. Plant cell contain chloroplast, while the animal cell does not contain chloroplast. While the animal cell does not contain chloroplast. We can also go ahead to say that the plant cell is rectangular in shape. Then while the animal cell is spherical or irregular. In shape. So we can go ahead and write as many differences as we can. Okay, number 7, I can say contains cellulose. And here I say cellulose absent. So let's stop here. So we have been able to write 7 differences between plants and animals. So these are the difference. Number 1, we said only parts of their body move in plants, while in animals they move their whole body from one place to the other. Then the second one is that plants can manufacture their food. Yes, the plant cell possesses what we call the chloroplast, which contains the chlorophyll. And the chlorophyll can trap sunlight or try to manufacture. Plants can manufacture their food with the aid of what? Of the chloroplast. Hence, they are called autotrophs. Animals cannot manufacture their food. Organisms that cannot manufacture their food are called heterotrophs. They rely solely on what? On autotroph. Then we have number 3. Plants respond to stimuli slowly. There are 2 major responses in plants, and they are nastism and tropism. We are going to talk about that probably as we go higher. Now, animals respond to stimuli quickly. Okay, then in number 4, we say growth is not restricted in plant. So in plant, growth is unlimited. While in animals, growth is restricted to a certain age. So there's a certain age an animal gets to, growth is restricted. Then of course, we say number 5, plant cells contain chloroplast. Yes, that's what enables them to manufacture their food. Animal cells do not contain, or animal The animal cells do not contain what? Chloroplast. So because of that, animals cannot manufacture their food. So animal cannot carry out photosynthesis like plants. So plant cell is rectangular in shape, and an animal cell, of course, is spherical or irregular in shape. So plant cell contains cellulose, while animal cell does not contain cellulose. In fact, the cellulose is the reason, or is one of the major differences between plants and fungi. Fungi were thought to be plants, but then after some experiment, they now discovered that they differ from plants in terms of their cell not containing cellulose, while that of plants contain what? Cellulose. So I believe you enjoyed our class. We're going to stop here. Today you know the difference between plants and animals. You have also known the characteristics of what? Of living things. And those characters or features that differentiate living things from non-living things. I hope you enjoyed our class. We're going to meet again next time. Thank you very much and God bless.